What happens when two of country music's biggest stars end up facing each other live on television, in a moment that no one planned for and nobody could have predicted? What happens when a simple question, the kind that usually leads to a friendly back and forth, suddenly turns into a fiery argument that leaves viewers stunned and the studio absolutely silent? That's exactly what happened during a now infamous episode of The Kelly Clarkson Show, when Keith Urban and Kelly Clarkson, two artists who have always shown mutual respect, found themselves locked in a tense exchange that grew more uncomfortable by the minute. It began as an ordinary segment. Keith walked out to cheers, ready to promote his new album, chat with Kelly, and share a couple of stories from the road. Everything looked easy and relaxed at first. Kelly welcomed him with her usual bright energy. The audience was excited, the music faded out, and the interview kicked off like any other. But underneath that upbeat atmosphere, neither of them had any idea how quickly things were about to change or how deeply the conversation would cut. Kelly, still smiling, asked a question that seemed simple on the surface. "There's been some debate in the industry lately about authenticity in country music," she said. "What do you think about artists who some people say have moved too far from the genre's roots?" Keith's smile faded only slightly, but enough for viewers to notice his shoulders tightened just a little, and he answered slowly, choosing each word with extra care. "Well, Kelly, that's quite a loaded question." Kelly didn't seem to catch the shift. She went on, adding context, trying to keep the conversation moving the way she normally does. "I just wonder how you respond to critics who think that some artists, maybe even you, are leaning too far into pop. There was an article last month that mentioned your recent collaborations and questioned whether you're still making country music or if you're going in a different direction." The audience reacted without making a sound. A quiet ripple went through the room. Everyone felt the tension sharpen instantly. Keith leaned back, tapping the armrest with his fingertips, a small gesture, but one that spoke volumes. "You know, Kelly," he said, "I find it interesting that you'd bring up that article on air without asking me first if I wanted to talk about it. It feels less like an interview and more like a setup." Kelly blinked, clearly surprised. "Keith, that's not what I meant. I'm just starting a conversation about how country music is changing. You're one of the top artists in the genre, and I thought you'd have something to say about it." Keith's voice tightened. "So now I'm supposed to address the idea that I'm not authentic anymore? That I'm somehow less country because I've had commercial success? That's nonsense." The tension grew even heavier. You could practically feel it pressing down on everyone in the studio. Kelly leaned in, softer now. "Keith, I think your music is amazing. I just wanted your thoughts on what's happening in the industry." Keith let out a short laugh that didn't sound friendly at all. "My thoughts? I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've stayed true to who I am while selling millions of albums and winning awards. And now you want me to defend my career because of one critic? That's insulting." The audience sat frozen. No one dared shift in their seat. Kelly lowered her voice again. "Keith, I think you're misunderstanding me. I wasn't asking you to defend anything. I just wanted to talk about how music evolves." Keith's frustration rose, and so did his accent. "Really? Let me ask you something, Kelly. When was the last time anyone questioned your authenticity as a pop artist? I'm guessing never." Kelly opened her mouth, but he kept going. "That's the thing with country music. People always want to lock us in a box. We're supposed to sound one way, look one way, act one way, and the second we try anything new, we're accused of selling out." Kelly tried to stay steady. "Keith, I get that this is a sensitive topic, but I think you're taking my question in a way I didn't intend. Keith shook his head. No, I'm taking it exactly as it is. This kind of thing happens all the time. Artists experiment, and critics can't wait to tear them apart. Kelly straightened her posture. I've had plenty of artists on this show, and we've talked about tough topics before. None of them reacted like this. Maybe the problem isn't the question. Keith shot her a glare. So now I'm the problem because I don't like being blindsided on your show. That's a nice twist, Kelly. Kelly tried to stay calm. Keith, I think the conversation has gotten off track. Off track? Keith snapped. You knew exactly what you were doing. You came ready with that article and those questions. You probably expected some polite answer, and then we'd move on. Well, not today. The production team looked at each other nervously, unsure if they should step in or let things play out. Kelly exhaled. Keith, I never meant to make you uncomfortable. I've always admired you. Admired me? Keith repeated with a cold, sharp edge. You just tried to make me justify my entire career in front of your audience. That's not admiration. Kelly's patience thinned visibly. I think you're overreacting. Maybe think about why this topic bothers you so much. Keith stood up suddenly, the chair scraping loudly across the floor. The whole studio jumped. Overreacting? I've been in this business longer than you've been singing. I don't need to defend myself to anyone, especially someone outside my genre. Kelly rose too, her voice firm and low. I might not be a country artist, but I know music, Keith. And right now, you're acting like someone who can't handle a simple question. The audience gasped. Again, Keith's voice dropped to a growl. You think I'm insecure? No, Kelly. You're the one who uses your guests to boost ratings. You knew what bringing up that article would do. That's not true, she replied sharply. No one has ever accused me of that. Maybe they should, Keith muttered. Kelly took a breath that sounded like effort. This interview is over. I think you need a break. Keith let out a bitter laugh. Oh, I agree it's over, but not because I need to calm down. It's over because I won't sit here and be insulted on live TV. If you feel disrespected, Kelly shot back, maybe look at how you're talking to me. Keith shook his head. You call this professional? Bringing up negative press just to stir things up? How about ambushing guests for attention? That's not what this was, Kelly said through clenched teeth. My show is built on respect. I don't need drama. Oh, please, Keith said. Your producers must be loving this right now. Kelly's expression hardened. That's disgusting, Keith. I would never manipulate someone like that. You knew exactly what that question would do, he insisted. If you can't handle talking about your own music, Kelly shot back, maybe the critics have a point. Keith stepped closer. Don't repeat their lies. You have no idea what it's like to be attacked for trying to grow as an artist. And you have no idea what it's like to get accused of attacking someone just for doing your job, Kelly countered. I've interviewed legends, Dolly, G, Carrie, and they handled tough questions with grace. Maybe you should try it. Keith gave a hard, humorless laugh. Of course you'd compare me. That's what everyone does in this industry. Endless comparisons. Maybe it's about maturity, Kelly said sharply. Right now, you're proving every critic right. Keith's face darkened. You think I've lost touch? That I've forgotten where I came from? I think you've forgotten how to have a professional conversation, she said coldly. You turned one question into a personal attack. When you bring up negative press on live TV, that's not a question, Keith said. It's an ambush. You're making this about your ego, Kelly said. My ego? Keith said bitterly. No, Kelly, this is about respect, and you completely failed at that today. Without another word, he turned and walked off the set. His footsteps echoed through the stunned studio like a drumbeat. Kelly stood frozen, swallowing hard, before finally saying, in a quiet but steady voice, "Well, I guess that's a wrap on today's interview with Keith Urban. We'll be right back after this short break." The camera cut. Silence filled the room. No one moved. What should have been a light, easy conversation had turned into one of the most uncomfortable moments in daytime TV history, one that seemed to end any professional respect or friendship that Keith Urban and Kelly Clarkson once had.